Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Do it right now. eastonroofing.com. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. The big voice guy just told you that. Pay attention because he knows what he's talking about. Check out the Google reviews for Easton Roofing. You'll see just how pleased their customers are. They do a phenomenal job, whether it's a roof repair. Yes, they do repairs. Other roof companies don't want to be bothered. It's not the most profitable thing. But listen, that's why the slogan is integrity matters. It matters to Easton Roofing. They want your roof to be tip-top shape, no matter whether it's a repair or getting a new roof. Right now, you can get a free inspection and a free estimate if any repairs or a new roof is needed just by going to eastonroofing.com or call 913-257-5426. Taylor or Kaylee in the office get the process going for you. They got a project manager on every site. Voted best of houses 4 straight years. Angie's List Super Service Award winner. Like I said, check out those Google reviews. You'll see just how impressed people are with the work that's done by Easton Roofing. They never collect payment until you're 100% satisfied. They're happy to take credit cards, and financing is available as well if times are tough for you. Call right now, 913-257-5426, residential or commercial. And remember, the ice is coming, and if you've got some problems with that roof, that's going to make it a lot worse. So take advantage of it right now at eastonroofing.com. Danny Clinkscale, how are you, my friend?
Doing all right. There's a rumor that Joe and I might be sharing a beverage here in a little while.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I would.
It's during the show still, though. He's got work to do.
Can't do that.
We'll turn the show on and raise a toast in your honor.
That'd be great. Have one for me.
Okay.
Have one for me. If you would.
That'll make 8.
Well, that makes 8.
No, actually, I think he's got a soccer game he's going to, so it's probably going to be a quick repast. There
you go, Danny.
Nice
beer.
You know what? That's why we always called you Danny Day Drinking Clinkscale. You know?
I'm not much of a day drinker, actually.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, not really.
It's nothing better. It's like cheating. It's like stealing. It's like getting away with something.
It is fun to have a couple and have a little glow going, and the sun is beating on you. There's no question about that. I mean, when it happens. But I'm like on my honey,
like a day football game or like a pub crawl or something. You don't think that's not just like the best?
Yeah, I think that tailgating is one of the most wonderful things. I think I've said this probably on the radio before too, but. If you drove by on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock and some guy was sitting out on his front porch drinking beer, you'd be like, "Hey, that guy's got a problem." But if he's in a parking lot and a grill's going, it's all good.
It's okay.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's like, why'd you wait so long?
Right. What were you waiting for?
Yes, it's one of the great things about society, right? It's appropriate at that time.
Yeah, appropriate
right?
in certain settings.
There are a couple pub crawls. There's one pub crawl some of my wife's friends have done for 20-some-odd years, right? And it happens – it's always the Saturday of the first 3-day weekends, which is, Memorial Day. It's always that Saturday. That's, nothing better than, like, you're on Beer-teenth at like 3:30, 7 joints into it, right?
Right,
That's good times. No one's driving, just be responsible. Right, so there you go. All right, let's stop talking about your drinking problem, Danny, and let's talk about some sports.
You said 7 joints into it, and Jed and I both went, "What?"
You're the wrong guy, man. I'm back here.
That's a lot of weed, right?
Different kind of joint.
Depends on the day, Danny.
and the size, man. Some guys. Anyway.
All right. Let's progress.
That's wasteful. That's wasteful.
Problem.
Use a bong.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I am a father of 2. I don't
You're not in this conversation.
Yeah,
this is between me and Danny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, on that end.
Multi-generational weed talk.
Yes. Okay. All right. Good to know.
All right.
All right. Let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. When do you think it's okay to talk about the perfect season?
I think it's all right now. I don't think there's any issue with that. The Chiefs just played what's supposed to be their most difficult game of the season and made the opponent look impotent. So I think that and if a team's going to be favored in every single game in game down the line, I mean, if you want to wait, that's fine. But I don't see why it's not a viable conversation right now. Chiefs are clearly the best team in football. They've already won a game that they didn't play particularly well in, and then when they played well, they looked unbeatable. So I think it's valid right now. I saw Sam Mellinger wrote a column the other day about it, which was funny, and he said no, they're not going to do it. Probably whatever. It was a funny column, but he went to some odds maker, and the odds are only 8-1.
Oh, that's terrible odds. I feel like you should never make that wager.
I'm just saying, right? I wouldn't make the wager at 8-1 either. But
I would almost look at it like, in some ways, when I talk about it, like a no hitter is in progress. When is it a watch? I kind of like it like a tornado or a thunderstorm, a watch and a warning. A watch is, conditions are favorable. Warning
analogy.
means you're thinking about it. To me, the watch is
on.
Is the bye week.
Really?
8-0. Halfway point of the season. That's when the watch
I'd
is
say
on.
That's
you think
the
maybe
warning.
watch is too early?
I think the watch is now, and the warning would be then.
The warning
but
would be
I
then?
like your
Yeah.
your analogy. I like the watch.
I do
warning.
like the analogy, and let's get the headline ready. Siebel hates Chiefs. Says not even watching for an undefeated season. Let's get that headline out there first and foremost. You said the bye week, which comes when? Week what?
Week 9. Maybe the warning is week. The end. The last one is week 9, or the halfway point of the season. Maybe is when it begins.
Why do you tuck tail and run from your first opinion immediately when you meet opposition?
Because sometimes I realize my initial opinion was
fine analogy. Maybe filling in the
at.
blanks on it was not right there. But
I think Curtis is. But I think what you said, Curtis, is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, "Hey, get to the bye week whenever it is," unless it's like last year, where it's week 12. Saying, "Hey, all right, first thing you got to do is get to the bye week." All right, and once you get there and you get a chance to get healthy, then you can see where it is. I think you're fine to say the watch starts then, because you still, at that point, you still have so many games. Their bye week comes up, after the Panthers. Mm-hmm. And so after that, you still got at Raiders, at Bucks, back-to-back weeks.
4 out of 5
Broncos,
on the road.
At Dolphins, at Saints. Like, listen, I think if you wanted to be a football coach, I think your analogy, a football coach would say, okay, it's at the bye week. And you would say, then you got to win. You've got 4 out of 5 on the road. I'm sorry to burst everybody's bubble, but it's a watch until you get to the get through that. It's a warning when you just have Falcons Chargers at home.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not quite. Maybe it's you get past the Dolphins and you got the last one of that 4 out of 5 on the road, which, by the way, could be good teams. At Raiders, at Bucks, with a home scrimmage against the Broncos. Then at Dolphins and at Saints. Maybe it's watch all the way through the Dolphins and warning on at Saints, because then they're going to be pretty big favorites on the last two, although the Chargers, play them kind of salty. And I think if you wanted to take a fan, media part, I think Sam Mellinger wrote it because we're on the watch.
Yeah.
Right? You had to get by the Ravens. That's the game that everybody thought they probably would lose. And so now that you got by the toughest game, the Bucks don't appear like they are going to be the perfect team. The Saints have problems, so there are other 2 games that you probably had written down as losses. If you went 12-4, you had those 3, and then they get tripped up somewhere. Well, now they've come through the Chargers, who is always a rock fight on the road. They've got that out of the way, and they've got the Ravens. I think from a media/fan standpoint, we're in the watch.
I agree with that, but I also, this is a great season for the Chiefs to try to even have a better chance of pulling it off, because I think whatever the Chiefs lose by not having a full stadium, and they have more fans than most people, they gain by not having road atmospheres. I mean, if you're the favorite in a game, the road with a raucous crowd, trying to spring the upset along with the team, creates a much bigger stumbling block than what we have now. Now you're just going out there and playing football at a theater.
Or in the locker room, as Patrick Mahomes said
And
after the game in L.A.
And all this stuff about the travel's different, and that's way less of a factor than the fact that you don't have 50, 60, 70,000 screaming fans helping out the defense. And that's the biggest thing, because what do the Chiefs ride? They ride their offense. And it's much harder for these defenses to even rise up a little bit when they've got nobody to back them up. So, the 8-1's not far from me making a bet. I'll say that.
Really?
Yeah. I think they've got a right now I'm going close to 40% chance.
Wow.
That's too high.
Probably.
That's too high. I mean, because if you what you have to do is you take each game and what are the odds of each game, and then you have to multiply.
I know mathematically it doesn't make any sense. I'm just saying what I think right now. My feeling is,
right.
And I know it's only been done twice in the regular season and only once for the whole season, but I mean they already played a minus game with turnovers against a good opponent that gives them a lot of trouble and still won. And then they just slaughtered. That game was only flukishly a 2-touchdown game. So
I hear you, and I think that the Mahomes piece in the quarterback piece, and then how good he is as a quarterback, it screws up the numbers, because the end of games and the end of halves are all about the quarterback, and I also think it's one where the Chiefs are the team with this guy that should consider going for every single fourth down.
Yeah, you're right. Except they often will get to the point where they don't need to anymore.
Right. Well, and then you take your foot off the gas. But I'm saying while the game is being contested, like if you wanted to maximize your wins over the course of the season, I really think the Chiefs would go for almost every fourth down. We could set 4th and 10 or more, and it might be 4th and 12 or more. And I know they've converted those. But that's my point, is that and that's why the math changes at the ends of halves and certainly at the end of games, because then Andy Reid uses the fourth down. And stopping Mahomes 4 times is almost impossible with this group of talent.
Yeah, each particular fourth down, when the game's still in the balance, I'd probably want to cross the 40. But after that, I'd go for them all. Yeah.
Yes.
Unless it's 4th and 23 or something. And in that case, having crossed the 40, all the difference is you're probably going to be punting deep, so you might want to go to that for that anyway.
Yeah, and especially, didn't Townsend kick one into the end zone this last week? He had one punt, and didn't it go into the end zone?
I believe so.
I can't remember. Curtis, do you remember? I know he only punted once. I can't remember what happened. But I'm just like, if he's not going to be as good as Colquitt at pinning it, down in close, and you're going to be gaining 25 yards versus you're going for it on a 4th and 4 or a 4th and 7, and you end up gaining 25 yards of field position. Like, that to me, when you cross the 50, the only reason not to go for it is because Butker 2 weeks ago seemed like he just could never miss, no matter how far you put it back. So he brings that into the equation. Like, okay, well, we can get 3 with him, but then he had a bad week. But, I really do think that at some point there's going to be a Maverick coach that's going to come in and say, here we go. But it's not the guy who has Sam Darnold that should do it. Right? That's the problem. The Maverick coach is probably going to have no quarterback.
No question about that.
It's Andy Reid.
And
I thought that the Steelers,
Maverick by necessity.
Yeah, and I thought that Mike Tomlin and the Steelers were trending that way. Everybody wants to do it on the 2-point conversion, and I think that's battery and backwards. It's the fourth downs that need to be gone for first and foremost, right? That's losing, 41% probability of 1 point to get that second point. I don't know that gamble. I'd have to see some more breakdown on the math, because they don't convert the 2-pointer, but at about 49, 50, 51%. But fourth downs, 4th and 4s, I think are much. I actually like 4th and 4 more than I like 4th and 1. You want to know why? Because 4th and 4, Andy Reid won't run the dive play to the sausage.
Yeah. That's the only enigma right now about Andy Reid is the fact that, he dialed up about everything in that game, and then when it came time for short yardage, he just did 2 dives in a row. I mean,
It's 1970.
I mean,
What?
And in recent time, what has happened? He hasn't gotten it on first and second down. What did Mahomes have 3 goal-to-go touchdowns in the previous game, or that previous game, right?
No, that was against the Texans.
Okay, against the Texans, right? So, that's that situation. You got great plays for it. I guess maybe it's supposed to be the element of surprise with the sausage, or
Except
I don't know.
Except he does it all the freaking time.
it was the same play he did in the first game. Soren has pointed out a number of times, and everyone says, element of surprise. It's like
he does seem to also have a complete and utter aversion for stepping on the throat of the opponent.
I never agreed with that in the past, but I'm being won over to it now. Because in the past, there was an explanation for it. Number one, there's only so many gotcha plays, right? Sometimes you just got to beat somebody. Andy Reid's got more of them than anybody, but even he runs out of things on that play sheet that are just like, okay, we know if we show this, they'll do this, and we can get that, right? Those run thin. And then he had a quarterback that wouldn't couldn't take the chunk plays. Alex Smith just didn't have the ability that Patrick Mahomes does. I'm telling you right now, there is no doubt that Mahomes has the ability to, end this thing by KO, to play college football, to be sitting all your big boys down with 7 to go in the third.
Without emptying the playlist.
I do think there's – what do you think it is? Do you think
don't know.
His respect for his fellow coach?
It seems so silly to keep games that you should be winning by 4 touchdowns somewhat in the hat. I don't know. It's maybe just the last vestige of him being an old ball coach that pops into his head. I don't know. We're ahead now. Let's not do anything to screw it up. Instead of realizing that they hardly screw it up. Even the Chiefs aren't this rollicking offensive show, that's the equivalent of a golfer who shoots 5 under par by making 10 birdies and 5 bogeys. They don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, the idea that putting the foot on the pedal means they're going to get two pick sixes or something just not borne out by the history, particularly of Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, the only thing they do on offense is commit penalties, but that's not putting the ball on the ground.
No, and I think the reason they commit penalties, I mean, Eric Fisher said that they practiced that play 3 times, the Fisher play. I mean, I think he said, we don't have a lot of time. He goes, Andy's coach has got so many plays that we don't have that much time. And so I think the penalties are maybe somewhat a sacrifice of, which I'm happy to hand it over. Now, especially now that they have Patrick Mahomes, because 5 yards, screw you, who cares? It's you're like a billionaire getting a speeding ticket. Up yours. Like,
right.
Give me a break. What do you think I care? Hurry up.
The Chiefs have made a lie to the fact that, a holding penalty is a drive killer.
Yes. Even those are 10. But like a false start, we're back 5. We're not even changing the play.
All it is like a little fly that landed on your salad, and you got to flick it away instead of your salad being pristine.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's like, oh, did a piece of the cheese fall on the table?
Oh,
Shoot
no.
Off to the side. Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll take a break. Danny Clinkscale is in. It's Danny Unleashed. It's brought to you by our buddy Joe Spiker. Easton Roofing is his great company, one of the fastest growing companies in Kansas City. Find out for yourself why so many people have such great reviews on Google. They are the best when it comes to repairing or, of course, replacing your roof. It's Easton Roofing. Call them today at 913-257-5426.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com. put your information in and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
Before the Dodgers, what was the last team to lead the majors in home runs and ERA? This came from the broadcast last night. Tim Kirkchin dropped this gem on us.
Well, this
the
may be
seventh inning.
too long ago, but what popped into my mind first was the 70s Orioles.
That's not bad. By the way, you should have done, what is the last team?
What is the last team?
Yeah. Kirkchin does not sound like Vin Scully.
No.
He does a fine job, but he's just clearly got a different kind of. It's more of a horse kind of high pitched.
He's got a little chuckle in his voice that's kind of endearing, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I like him. I think he does a good job. He loves baseball, and I think that comes across, and I think that's a good start. So, but he'd be the first one to admit,
Oh, sure.
his voice is.
He's not Boog Shambi.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Dan Shulman. He didn't have that kind of voice.
He's in the battle for shortest pundit with Ken Rosenthal.
Yes.
God, what is it about covering baseball and being, of the smaller variety?
Tiny. Kirkchin's supposed to be quite a good basketball player.
Really?
Yeah. I used to play with.
You can dunk.
Play with Cal Ripken games with Cal Ripken. I guess they had some real competitive basketball games.
No. I call the bull.
He just throws it down.
I've heard that from multiple times.
Well, was Cal Ripken a renowned basketball player? Or was he a renowned baseball player? I think just because he's good at baseball doesn't correlate.
He was 6'4". I bet he was a good basketball player.
At 6'4", and a major league shortstop. I'm going to guess
from
Cal
an
could
era
probably
when
hold
he
his
was
own.
probably the quarterback, the shortstop, and the point guard.
I bet he was just fine on the court.
The average man who's having a couple of Coronas, and the high school coach is what screwed him out of his pro career, should understand that the Major League Baseball player, had he decided on football, probably would have made it there. And the football player, had he decided on baseball, he'd have probably made it there. The freaks are the freaks.
Yeah,
they
they're
find
not
their
like
way.
us.
I can't. I can't tell you, and you guys must have experienced the same thing. When I talk to groups or people and they'll ask me a question about players and whatever, and I often refer to the fact that I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a professional athlete whose favorite sport wasn't the one that he was a professional athlete in.
Yeah,
I mean, that happens over and over again.
It's getting to be less and less, though, because now everything's so specialized. They don't have a chance to like anything else, because by the time they're 9, they're playing basketball year-round or baseball year-round. And
yeah, it's a shame, actually.
They don't even know. It is, it is.
Like today, with Kansas City Profile, presented by Easton Roofing, is my podcast today.
At DannyClinkscale.com.
Right, at DannyClinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And it's Duron Sherry. And he could have been a professional baseball player. He was recruited to Rutgers as a baseball player.
Yeah, I believe it.
And so, that was very commonplace then. So I'm not saying Cal Ripken was like that, but I think he was supposed to be quite a good basketball player.
If Tyreek Hill played baseball every day, do you think he'd have made the big leagues as a center fielder?
Well, the only thing I think that differentiates things a little bit is hitting the baseball.
I'm with you, but I think the hand-eye coordination, if he got in there, maybe he bats 255 and not 320 like Ricky Henderson. But I see Ricky Henderson in Tyreek Hill.
True, but I also see Bubba Starling.
I don't.
No, I mean Bubba Starling was a great athlete across the board, and
I think
and
Bubba,
he's a fine defensive player, and he's got good speed.
To your point, yes. Had Tyreek, if Tyreek played baseball like most guys who come through playing baseball, and started young and focused on it, he'd have been Ricky Henderson. But played center, because I think he's got more want to than Ricky had.
Ricky liked it over there and left.
Your point about the hitting is true. Pitch, and there's touch and pitching, and by the way, you see a lot of pitchers. You're like, although even now more and more, like the Greg Maddoxes, the kind of fat-ass, middle-age, soft putts, that looks like he ought to be, driving the beer cart around the golf course and not winning 354 games. Like, those guys kind of don't exist anymore. All these pitchers are horses now.
Right, most of them, that's for sure. You talk
like,
about the touch gene, like Zach Greinke, whatever. One of my best friends growing up was the best tennis player in America, and he became a Wimbledon doubles champion. He won 5 or 6 majors in doubles. So he was a fine professional athlete. He retired from tennis, and he needed an outlet. So 2 years later, having really never played golf in his life, he was the New England amateur champion.
There's an ability there. Yes,
right,
exactly. Yeah, no doubt. We're talking to Danny Clinkscale here in the program. By the way,
we never got the answer.
Get the answer.
Oh yeah.
we got a little sidetracked, which happens when the three of us.
So
get
my first guess is the Orioles, but I'm going to try to think of something more.
I'll take the Big Red Machine. No, I don't know that their pitching was that good. The
Astros
Orioles is a really good guess.
Nope. How about the 1944 Cardinals?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is on the tip of my tongue.
Also, he noted that before the Dodgers have led the National League in homers and ERA 3 straight years. Before that, the last team to lead their league in those 2 categories at least 3 straight years was the 36-39 Yankees, the first 4 years of Joe DiMaggio's career. So what the Dodgers have done the last 3 years, you got to go back a long way to find precedent.
Really, you kind of have to go back to the Yankees because that's a wartime team in 44 and a wartime team at the end of the war when nobody was playing Major League Baseball. So,
a couple of clicks on your phone with the Good Sense app, and you got lunch or dinner ready to go. You can pick the time you want to pick it up. You can have it delivered. You can do it ASAP. That's about 20 minutes. They'll get it ready for you in about 20 minutes. So get your phone out with that Good Sense app. Make sure you're part of the loyalty club. You get 10% back. Founded in Lenexa. That's what we just gave away. Good Sense, goodsensesubs.com online. Party Tray is also a great way to go for a football game if you're going to have a couple of folks get together. If the family's all going to watch the game.
Big football weekend coming up.
It is a big football weekend. Do you want to talk a little college football, Danny?
Sure, yes.
Is the K-State win, I asked this of Blair yesterday, is that the greatest coaching victory in the history of Kansas State football?
Well, I think it's one of the great, amidst a great list of coaching victories at Kansas State, I will say that.
Almost all by Bill Snyder.
Right. But, and he has quite a few wins like this, but it's the only one against the top 3 team. I think it's one of the greatest coaching victories, period. I mean, a team that just the week before got beat and beat legitimately by Arkansas State. A team that just totally dominated the second. If they had lost that game, it would have been a crime. And they turn around and are getting punked. I mean, absolutely punked in that game. They didn't make a first down in the first quarter. I think they had 4 of them at halftime, and Oklahoma.
They were 2 for 11 on third down when the game was over. They were outgained by like 150 yards.
No question. I mean, and then just turn the game on its head. I mean, they were dominating the game at the end. It was amazing. It was, and the thing that's weird to me about it, and maybe makes it even greater an accomplishment, I don't think it's some kind of indication that all of a sudden the Cats are a title contender either.
No, I don't either. I think they're only a 2.5-point favorite against Texas Tech. Well, I mean, they are both games, losing to Arkansas State and beating Oklahoma. Is it a,
right?
And listen, I'd say it's like, well, it's a COVID year, and so anything can happen this year. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. I get that, but here's the other side of that. It's like K-State was the team that was ravaged with the COVID, and they won. They didn't lose to Arkansas State because of COVID, and then beat Oklahoma because Oklahoma had 14 starters out.
No, they were talking early in the week about the fact they might not be able to
not play the game,
meet the minimums to play the game.
And think about this week. It's why I like Texas Tech. And Fat Jack said this yesterday. He got the word. I think he said an hour before the game or something, 2 hours before the game, that K-State was going to have all these players down. And so he released Oklahoma, and he goes, it blew up on us. He goes, we looked great through 3, and then K-State did what they were going to do. And I'm like, for a handicapper like him, I'm with you. Like, I think he had the side. He had good information. He had the side. It's just a tremendous win for K-State. But like now you turn around and they're giving 2.5 to Texas Tech, and this is why our buddy Will Harris spends all day listening to all these coaching press conferences, because to get information about where teams are, unless he's lying, Chris Kleiman said in his thing on Tuesday that they're only going to get like one or two guys back. So, because they were on the front end of the 14 days, and so they're going to miss all those guys that missed against Oklahoma are going to miss this, except for like one or two guys. And so, I don't think you expect them. I expect Texas Tech to win the game.
Well, and it's. I think it'll be a highly motivated Texas Tech team too, because they just flat blew their game. They should have won, and they still look like hell on wheels as far as their offense is concerned. Their quarterback, who's been hurt, is healthy, and when he's been healthy, he's been really good. So, yeah, I think you can absolutely make a case for Tech in this one. I think this game will give us an indication of maybe we're wrong about K-State. Maybe they are a little better than we think, but I think this game will give us some real evidence, because if K-State is the team that they turned into last week, they should win comfortably at home against Texas Tech.
Yeah, the Michigan team that lost to Appalachian State went on to win 10 games. So, I mean, you can lose to Arkansas State and still have a fine season. What do we think of the Big 12 right now? OU loses, for one, they've got a first-year quarterback. It is his second year in the program, right? I think he redshirted last year, but he was there last year, right, Rattler?
I think he's a redshirt freshman, I believe so.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
I think.
So,
Curtis, you might look that
but
up.
The thing is, he was the polar opposite of Kansas State. I mean, he looked so good until the game turned, and then he looked like a scared freshman. I mean, first 25 passes, none hit the ground.
Right. Lincoln Riley had such a run of first-year quarterbacks just excelling under him that you knew at some point that it's just not that easy. There's got to be some growing pains. And I think Rattler's going to be a fine quarterback.
He's a redshirt.
He is a redshirt freshman,
yeah.
Okay. But, and maybe that's it. Maybe, he's had upperclassmen, that have stepped in the past, and that's what he wanted. Baker Mayfield started
20.
3 years there, I think. So
he just turned 20 last week.
Well, maybe all the bad things that happened to him down the stretch in that game were just karma for that haircut. What is that?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got dreadlocks and he has no hair.
Dreadful locks is what that is.
I am not commenting on anyone's hair choices.
Yeah, nor can I, actually.
I think it's cool I think it's cool for somebody to I think dreadlocks are cool. Let
me get a look.
But he's got extremely thin blonde hair. He looks like he just went for treatment. And I can make that joke right now.
Well, and really whenever you are a cancer survivor.
Right. So.
Well, not videos. I wanted images here. Let me see if I can look at the knot.
Oh, my, yeah, jeez. Yeah, Curtis just showed me one right now. I mean, I don't know what the heck's going on
I
there.
think that might have been just for game day, because I'm seeing it here. He's got kind of the Patrick Mahomes thing going.
Okay.
Wearing like a golf visor.
Yeah, well.
So that might have just been for, when I'm wearing the helmet, when I take the helmet off, I don't want it all jacked up or something.
Well, it was jacked up.
It looks Mahomes-esque when I see him, yeah.
It's interesting. Let's put it that way.
I'm good with it.
Looks like a speed metal front man.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yep.
But what does it say about the Big 12 right now?
I think this league looks like we talked about some of the things you can't take from COVID. I think the league is a reflection of COVID football. I think that some of the teams don't seem that prepared. Their preparation ramp up has been heavily affected by players being out. Oklahoma State shouldn't be going out there and hardly scoring.
Except for they did replace 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. I think everybody gets giddy about skill position, and they don't understand that the big guys are important.
Oh, they're real important in college football. Don't get me wrong.
LSU, 4 of 5 starters out on the offensive line. Georgia mucked around for a little while. I think they're replacing 4 starters on their offensive line.
And it probably becomes even that much more important when you're trying to replace them under this setting, when cohesion in the offensive line is so important. And another reason why K-State's victory was remarkable, because they have a new offensive line and they don't have much cohesion. So
that's why I had Arkansas State. Is I'm like, I don't think you can just plug and play in Manhattan, Kansas right now. Like maybe Alabama can, and you would think Georgia could, right? And Oklahoma's. I will say this. Here's the biggest thing that came out of the Oklahoma K-State game for me. Lincoln Riley seems to have a turd early every year. Amazingly, it's early, and then he wins the rest of the way, and he gets into the playoffs. And maybe that'll be the case again this year. But Oklahoma's supposed to have one of the best offensive lines, and the K-State defensive line did a number on him late.
True, that they did lose their center, and while he came back, I think he was compromised, and he's their best offensive
that's
lineman.
fair.
So that may have screwed things up, and he's the one who's got to make the calls and all that stuff. So, I during the game, I found myself feeling sorry for this guy because they talked about how great he was and how he's going to be this, high draft choice pro, and then they say he's wearing 2 knee braces. I'm like, oh, God, I hope the guy makes it to the combine so he can get his money before his knees fall apart.
Yeah, no, I know. He's first team. He was on my first team All-American. I think he was on everybody's first team All-American. He was one of the easiest choices to make. But what do you think? Like, is Hamilton at Texas? Like, look, one game, right? If he does real well in all the others and he beats Oklahoma, that'll just look like, look, they even found a way to win against Texas Tech. That was a screwy game when it's 63-56, and and it wasn't because it was a shootout. It was because there was like muffed punts and blocked punts and just.
It also
stupidness.
wasn't because it went to 10 overtimes. I mean, it was,
yes, but shouldn't Texas be able to stop Texas Tech a little more? Again, the yardage wise, when you look at that box score, it doesn't say 63-56. But what do you think? Is Hamilton turning a corner at Texas?
I think that Texas's inability to – I think that elite schools who can attract tremendous talent, who play the kind of defense we've seen at Texas and Oklahoma and a couple of other places is inexcusable. You've got athletes, and I don't care how crazy the offenses are or anything else. You can't be giving up 50 with athletes of that caliber. So I think it's all coaching.
And I'll listen to that or allocation of resources, right? Like all your good kids are on the offensive side of the ball,
but most of those players that they recruit are 2-platoon football. I mean, they play one side of the ball generally in high school. I mean, a few of them might, they might stick them out at wide receiver.
I think they're identified as a better talent on one side of the ball, but every college kid that plays around here, every Rockhurst corner is also the wideout.
Right here, but I'm saying in Texas high school football, there's not too many guys playing offense and defense.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know. That's dumb. If you're a Texas coach, then I will tell you they should be.
We're talking about places where what's that place in Oklahoma right outside Tulsa? I've done a game at the basketball place there. I don't think it's Broken Arrow, but the same story. Their football stadium is like 22,000 people.
Yeah, I know. It is. It's ridiculous. Well, but riddle me this then. Okay, so Texas and Oklahoma cannot play defense, and the SEC seems to have gone back to their old ways, and they can't find quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think that's both of those things do not make sense. The only thing the caveat you gave about, identifying players and maybe moving them over to one side of the ball, I will absolutely listen to that. But the other factor is, if you recruit 4 good quarterbacks, 3 of them will leave if they don't play. So that's true. If the guy that you decide is the best one doesn't pan out, there's no plan B usually, because the guy's playing for Ohio State now.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, there are guys, like, where are the – and I always go back to this guy because he was – who's the fool on the motorcycle with his girlfriend?
Petrino?
Bobby Petrino. When Bobby Petrino was coming up at Louisville and was really making his name, he had like a 10-win season with Stephen LaFours was the kid's name. It was this 5'10" left-hander. Yep. Right? Like, those guys exist.
And I don't think they give him a chance. That's the thing. They've got a glittery 6'4", 230-pound guy. And
right, but my point is you have that guy, but then you also have Stephen LaFours, who's there halfway just to start his coaching career, and can at least run your system if Justin Fields opts out? Like, how is Georgia needing Wake Forest's grad transfer? How does that happen? How do they go from in front of Fields? And they had another one. What hell? The Washington kid who was in the draft this year also transferred out of Georgia. So, like, if anybody deserves a pass, it's Georgia, because 2 NFL draft picks transferred out while Fromm was the quarterback, and Fields they think might go 1 or 2.
But I think they're more inclined to, instead of looking within their own program, saying, that guy's always done a pretty good job for us. He knows the system, blah, blah, blah. Instead, let's just look across the nation at the grad transfer we like the best and go get him.
Yeah, Jacob Easton. Thanks, Jed. Jacob Easton's the one who went to Washington.
Right.
Well, how are you not grabbing, like, why is it not hard then for Mike Leach to find a quarterback?
Because he's probably got a better system and coaches it better.
Yeah, well, I mean, he went and got the kid from Stanford. Like, to your point, like, then look out there and grab a guy.
Right, and he's never, it's not like he's ever come up with a dud offense.
No.
Never. I mean, he'll have the occasional head-scratching game where you're like, they scored 10? What?
Yeah.
But not in the season.
No. All right, we'll take a break. It's Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. You have questions. They've got answers. Easton Roofing, you can find them online. In fact, you can request a quote right there. Everything you need is online at eastonroofing.com or call 913-257-5426. Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. What's the difference at this time of year as we head toward the warmer months for homeowners, and what should they be looking at, coronavirus or not?
If you didn't do a good job of home maintenance in the fall, cleaning your gutters out, when we get the spring rains, that can be a real problem. So you want to make sure that you've done a good job on your home maintenance, cleaning your gutters out. We can help with that. I always tell people they never get their roof inspected. They get their furnace inspected once a year, but they never get their roof inspected. And we do the inspection on your roof for free. So you call, you make an appointment, and we'll show up, do the inspection. It's free. You should have your roof looked at once a year. Take advantage of us. And most likely you're fine. And if there's a problem, hopefully we can get out in front of it and save you money in the end.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
Talking to Danny Klingscale, it's Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Check them out online at eastonroofing.com or just call for an appointment right now, 913-257-5426. If that roof is getting old and been battered around, don't risk it this winter with the ice that we know is on its way. Call 913-257-5426. See them online at eastonroofing.com. The entire metro, including Lawrence and Topeka. That's what Easton Roofing covers. Danny, do you have any parting thoughts about the Royals you'd like to share with us? Any wisdom you want to drop on us?
Yeah, I did a podcast on Monday about the Royals specifically, and a couple other things, but mostly the Royals. And I think this offseason is so hard to judge. You can absolutely lean, and I think I will, towards the fact that this particular strong finish and some of the individual performances that were just part of the latter part of the season are more valid and the future is brighter. But darned if they haven't done this the last couple of years and played just dreadful. I mean, the whole group that was now encouraging played right from the start, and they stunk. So I think it's difficult to judge them, but I have to say I will lean to being more encouraged than I was 3 months ago about the future of the team.
Does Mondesi put it all together?
I don't think he's ever going to put it all together. But I think
that's what I wanted to, one of the things I wanted to get to from passing was like, what is the finished product look like?
I think it's still going to be maybe more bits of the strong, streaky Mondesi, but I think we're still going to. He strikes out too much and does too many things to have a consistent full baseball season. So I don't think he's ever going to reach the heights that they have, but I don't see bust either.
Okay. All right, Danny. Great stuff as always. Go have that beer with Joe from Easton, and
All right.
We'll talk again next week.
I'll have one for you, sir.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Have to.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.